Brother haven't put start yet, isn't it? Hello to all our viewers from around the globe. Thank you for joining us in this live cast called Secrets of the Soul, Unlocking the Mystery, an event organized by Heartfulness Malaysia. I am Thiru, and with me I have my co-host Vivi. Today is the very first of the three episodes of our webinar, where we will be exploring the topic, the journey of the soul. To you, Vivi, to introduce our distinguished speaker.
Thank you, Tiru, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm Vivi, and I'm very happy to be hosting this show alongside Tiru and to have a wonderful speaker who will share some of his valuable insights with regards to the topic of discussion today. It is a great honor and pleasure to invite our guest speaker to the show. And so, without further ado, let me introduce tonight's speaker. VK Somakumar is a Chennai-based industrialist and entrepreneur. He is also a heartfulness meditation practitioner and trainer for more than 35 years. His experience includes conducting heartfulness training workshops and seminars worldwide for both government and corporate organizations. Formerly trained as an engineer, his keen interest in science and spirituality enabled him to explore and delve deep into the mysteries of creation and existence. A voracious reader, Somakumar is very passionate and serious in seeking answers to the meaning of life and existence. He has authored 2 books based on his spiritual experiences and connection of human presence with nature. As a heartfulness trainer, his quest to unravel the mystical and mysterious phenomena of the universe still continues.
Hello, Somakumar.
Hi.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for taking time off your busy schedule to join us today. This subject of the soul is very intriguing, and many of us would like to know more about it. Please share with us the secrets of soul and help us unlock the mystery.
Thank you, Thiru and Vivi, for the nice introduction. It's a pleasure for me also to be with all of you to speak on a subject which is very close to my heart. Yes, this subject, Secrets of the Soul, Unlocking the Mysteries, is a fascinating subject. It is fascinating because, on one side, it kindles the curiosity in us, and on the other side, it creates fear also. Curiosity because of the concealed mysteries in it. Fear is created because of the secrets, fear of the unknown. All of us enjoy our life, though with sufferings and miseries. We love our life, though we may not be liking the living part of it. Most of the time, we don't like the living part of it. The reason we love life is the ability to exist, or the urge to exist and excel is embedded in us, in the humans, by the Creator Himself. So I like to exist and I like to excel also. But most of the time, we are actually aligned with the body, and we always think and believe that I in me is actually the body. This is what we think and believe. When we think about our friends, relatives, or somebody else also, we think them as bodies. Our connection with humans is actually as bodies. That is what we believed. But this thing actually which gets shaken, this belief will get shaken once we start seeing deaths happening all around us. When death comes, the body is left behind and something goes out of the body. And what happens is this person was actually with me, my friend or somebody. He was with me walking, running, talking, laughing, doing everything in an energetic manner. But suddenly the energy goes off and the body is left behind. So then I start thinking scientifically, the energy cannot be created, it cannot be destroyed, but it can only be transformed. And I also start thinking that the body or the I, which was about which I was proud of and was enamored of till yesterday, is not really the body, it seems to be the energy. So now where has it gone? The energy has gone from my friend's body. Where is it now? And there it starts, I start thinking about the curious part of it. Where is it now? It is taking me, because the I or me in him has gone. So where is it now? This quest starts at that point of time, and the search starts there. So we actually start thinking about it, trying to find out what is it exactly, and the search begins. This search has started long back, right from the beginning of civilization. It is there in all our literature in some way, here or there. And the soul keeps its secrets. It is the secrets and the mysteries involved with soul is profound, so that it keeps its suspense even up to this moment without releasing it totally. So the researchers, analysis, and going deep into this topic has been happening all through these years. And depending on the knowledge and skill that is available during different eras in human history, they get some truth about it. But it is not totally revealed. When the next century comes, some new discipline comes, some new knowledge comes to you, and you start searching with that knowledge about the secrets of soul, and a new revelation comes. So this is how it goes. So what I'm planning to do now is actually to walk you all through the various stages when soul was getting revealed to us by different disciplines, by different people, by different experts, and walk you through all these things little bit. I mean, it's not possible by me to go through the entire thing because that may take years. So just give a gist of each finding, and we'll start with the Vedic period. But one thing is, even though I'm going to take you all through these things, the Vedic period, how they found out soul. Next, the neurologists, psychiatrists, hypnotic systems, and what they found out. And finally, on the third day, I'll take you to the science part of it, the modern science, what the science tells you today. But then the problem is, or the main thing is, you are getting this knowledge by the experience of somebody else. Somebody else finds it out and they start writing about it, they start talking about it, they give you video clippings and all, and you get the knowledge part of it only. But knowledge alone will never give you the conviction. You have to experience it. So what I am going to include in this series of talks is, you will be getting a practical session also, how to search yourself for your soul. So you are going to finally, at the end of these talks, what you will do is, you will start doing an experiment, doing a research on your own soul. And until and unless that you get that, this is not complete. So let us start with the Vedic period. In the Vedas, there is one book, one work, which is supposed to be equally good like Bhagavad Gita and all, and it is called Yoga Vasishtam. Its position is fourth in the list of spiritual books in the Vedic tradition. Brahma Sutra comes first, Upanishads come second, then Bhagavad Gita, and fourth is Yoga Vasishtam. It is actually, that book is written in a style of conversation, it's a conversational style. Lord Rama, when he was a youth, he got depressed, he got disillusioned, and he started withdrawing from life by seeing the miseries and sufferings of the people in the world. So sage Vasisht who is his teacher, who is his guru, he was asked to talk to Rama and bring him back to life, to the life of a normal prince at that period. So that is how the book is written. And this book is actually published during the 6th century. And I will just extract one particular story that sage Vasisht told Rama to reveal the secrets of the soul's mysteries. It's one small story. And the story goes like this. Once upon a time, there was a king who was ruling a big kingdom. His name was Padman. He is a very honest, sincere, wise, knowledgeable person. And he was actually doing good things to his people, his citizens, and he was punishing the bad people, like the duty that is to be done by a noble king. And there was a beautiful woman. She is also very wise, very beautiful, and she was his wife, the queen. Her name was Leela. So they were living a very happy life. They were very much attached to each other, bonded each other. So it was going on for a few years. Then suddenly the queen started thinking, my husband, the king, is very handsome and he is very wise, very knowledgeable, very well mannered, and I would like to live with him for more than 1,000 years. So then she thought, how is it possible? So she went asking for this particular purpose. She was asking the gurus also, the learned people in the court, the generals in the court, the ministers in the court. But all of them told her that it is not possible to stop old age and death. So then she was confused. What should I do now? Then she decided maybe I will die first, so that I will not have this problem. But then later on, she had confusion again. But that is not correct. I want to live with him. I don't want to die earlier. What I can do? Then what she did was she went into rituals and practices to please goddess Saraswati. She is the goddess of wisdom, knowledge. So she was doing ascesis, meaning meditation, penance, for a long time. And finally, the goddess appeared before her. She was pleased with her worship and all. So she asked the queen, what do you want? I will give you 2 boons. Whatever you want, you can ask. 1 or 2, both of them. So the queen, without hesitation, she said, what I want is, I want even in case he dies, but his soul should not go out of the palace. I must be with that soul. This is my request, number 1. Number 2 is, whenever I want you, you should appear before me. Whenever I am extremely sad also, you should appear before me. So she granted the boons and the goddess disappeared. The queen was very happy. Again, whatever she wanted, she got. And years passed like that. And after many years, the king became old actually. And the soul was getting ready to leave the body. Because of her practice and all, she had that extra sense. She understood that it is going to happen now. And one day it happened. So she was in grief. She started weeping. And when she became extremely sad, the goddess appeared. And the goddess asked, why are you so sad? What do you want? And the goddess said, your husband's soul will be here because you are already requested for that. So cover him with fresh flowers and all, keep him decorated, and the flowers will not get decayed. It will be kept like that only. So the queen was pleased, but after 2-3 days, she had a confusion. She invoked the presence of the goddess, and she asked, now I want to know what is happening to my husband now. Because the soul is here, but what is the form? What form he has? Where is he actually? I would like to see this. Then the goddess said, you do one thing, you come with me, but you have to come out of your physical body. But you are capable of doing it because of your practice of meditation. You come with me, I'll take you. So the queen, Leela, she came out of her body, the soul came out, and both of them start rising into the space. And they reached a particular space where the queen was seeing her husband, the king. He was sitting in a throne with all paraphernalia of a great king and ministers courtiers, they were all there. And he was ruling the country, some other country, a big kingdom. So she was surprised on one side and she was shocked also on the other side. She was confused also on the other side. So then after some time, the queen said, we'll go back. The goddess, we'll go back to my palace. She went back, both of them went back. The husband's body was there, soul was there. So then she asked the goddess, I don't understand what is happening. He is there also, he is here also. And the other king, who is now, he appeared to be very young. He seems to be an 18-year-old boy who is sitting on the throne. Then goddess said, I'll explain to you. Now, since you have practiced so much, you can understand what I am trying to tell you. There are three kinds of spaces, and it is in Sanskrit, they were actually giving the reply. Chittakash, Akash, and Chidakash. So for us to understand it better, I'll tell you what it is. Chittakash is actually subconscious space. Akash is conscious space, and Chidakash is superconscious space. So we all are actually living in these three spaces, depending on our condition, spiritual condition. So what the goddess told her is, your husband was living with you. Now he is living here in another plane. And let me ask you one question to the queen. He said, how did you come to this earth? How are you living in this earth now? Do you know what it is? How is it happening? Then goddess replied, she said, it is because of your impressions that you created in the previous birth that has actually given you this birth. But really what happens is, the subconscious space is created because of your thoughts, your emotions, whatever you have created in your mind during one particular birth, and that gives you the subconscious space. The conscious space is filled with worldly things. Your buildings, your trees, your plants, your human beings, what you see in the external world is the conscious space. For anything to exist, wherever it is, you need a space. So for the things that you have created and stored inside you, it is the subconscious space. For the things that you are seeing with your senses, experiencing with your senses, that is the conscious space. And the other one, Chidakash, superconscious space, is reality. That is the only thing that is existing. The other things are illusionary. It is not there existing. It is because of your samskaric pattern, you see certain things which are actually not existing. It is not existing at all. Even subconscious is not existing, conscious is not existing. What is existing is only the reality, which is the superconsciousness, the Chidakash. And she gave a clue. When you watch with a focused mind, when you see a gap between two thoughts, when one thought goes and the next one comes, in between there is a gap. In that gap, if you are focused, you will see this Akash, this space, this reality space. So then she was convinced a bit, but not really fully convinced. So the queen asked again, but I can't believe this, because I was living with my husband for more than 80-90 years. And after that, when he is leaving, he is in another plane, he is an 18-year-old boy. So actually this incident after the death, and after I am seeing this, it is only hardly 2-3 days. In 2-3 days, how can he become 18-year-old boy? How can he rule the country? So goddess said, again, the confusion is because you are in the subconscious stage or the conscious world. That gives you confusion about all these things. Now I will do one thing. I will tell you another story or another incident or event. There is in the Chidakash, in the superconscious space, somewhere there is a village surrounded by hills, surrounded by valleys, forests, things like that. It's a small village. And there lived a Brahmin and the name of the village is Girigram. And he was a very pious, honest, innocent, sincere Brahmin devoted to God worship and all. And he was living, and with his family, he was living with his family. So one day, this Brahmin he just went to the forest to pick up firewood. And after 2-3 hours hard work, he wanted to take rest. he was just lying down in a lawn there, enjoying the natural beauty. But suddenly when he looked down, he saw a king there with all the paraphernalia, with all the soldiers. He has come for hunting. And in all the brilliant, paraphernalia of a king, accompaniments of a king, appendages of a king. And suddenly the Brahmin thought, how beautiful it is, this life of a king. He has got all people to serve around him. He can go for hunting. He's coming in his chariots. So all luxuries you can imagine the king has got. Then the Brahmin thought, how beautiful it will be if I become a king. And he again thought, when I am going to be blessed to be a king. So his thoughts went inside him, and after some time he got up and he went back to his house. But this thought about being a king was haunting him every day almost. And till the last moment, he got this thing rooted in him. He thought about becoming a king. And that Brahmin died. And it is now 8 days since that Brahmin died there. And his wife also was very much devoted to her husband. So she also extracted a promise from me, that means from the goddess, that I should be with my husband throughout. And I gave her the boon. No? So what happened was, when the Brahmin died, the soul of the wife also chased him. And he became a king after his death. And she became his wife. And that Brahmin and his wife are both of you, the king and queen, who got this birth. So she really got confused, because it is only 8 days since that Brahmin died, and it is only 3-4 days her husband died, and the goddess is saying this is one and the same person who is doing all these things. The tricks of the soul. Okay, then she said she couldn't believe it. Suddenly the queen said, I would like to go to that village and see what is happening here. Then the goddess said, yeah, but you have to work some more. The penance and the rituals and the meditation that you did not remove totally your conscious world. There is something left inside. Some samskar is left inside. So take a few days time to remove that also by your practice and come back. So she did that, and again she invoked the goddess, and both of them, then she came out of her physical body, the soul, pure soul, and with the goddess they went to this place, this Girigram. When they went there, the people went to the Brahmin's family, and the people were all sad, grief-stricken, because of the death happened in the family of the couple, father and mother, grandfather and grandmother, for the family members there. And they went there, and the son of the Brahmin, he recognized them. He recognized this soul. And he was very happy, and he was just talking to them, and then they left. So the queen was convinced what the goddess said was true. But she asked one question. See, when I went to meet my husband, who is a king in the new world, he couldn't recognize me. I recognized him, but he couldn't recognize me. But this Brahmin's son, he recognized me. How is it possible? Then the goddess replied, your husband, who became a king in the next birth, he had not come out of his conscious world. It is still there. So he is seeing only that. He cannot see anything above that. He cannot see reality because he is not in the reality space. But the Brahmin's son was actually doing all sorts of meditation, all sorts of penance, and he is a pure soul, and he has touched reality space. Because he was in the reality space, he could recognize you. So from this story, you can understand what our ancestors were doing and how they did it. Secrets of the soul. But that is not the end of it. Yeah. That's not the end of the story, because that was what was found in the Vedic period by people who were living in that context by doing certain practices which reveal to them a part of the secret of the soul. But the soul actually reserved many more secrets in the coming centuries. So that is our next class. How these neurologists and psychiatrists and hypnotists, they found out another truth about the soul. So this is one hint you got about the soul, because you are not able to completely understand what are the secrets, what are the mysteries, until and unless you merge in that soul and reach the final stage of your destiny. That is the absolute stage. So with this, now the most important part of the story is you are actually getting experiences of many people during all these ages, all these centuries. But that's only knowledge. You get conviction like the queen only when you do the right practice and reach that level of the reality space. Then you will, all your problems are solved. All your queries will stop. Till that time, we will be completely, continuously searching for these secrets. We will be using various skills and techniques which are available to us at the respective ages, and still progress, till trying to reach the final stage, and that is life. That is actually the life. So what happens in this stage? What they have understood is when the energy is going out of the body, when the soul is going out of the body, it takes life with it. We can come to the conclusion that the soul is actually the life in you. That is that one definition of the soul. So now actually with all these things, we have got a somewhat understanding about what is soul, what it can be. And with that, I think I will conclude this session.
That was a wonderful and enlightening discourse. Thank you, Somakumar. Really fascinating, and I was especially glued to the analogy that you gave. And I was especially interested as well when you actually pointed out how does a living person actually recognize a soul from the past. It was really interesting.
You're welcome.
We
For
haven't.
question and answer, we will be back in 5 minutes time. We'll have a break now.
We had an overwhelming response to today's program from our viewers, and prior to this webinar, we also received numerous questions from them. Over the course of this session and the next 2 sessions with our speaker, he will attempt to address as many questions as time permits. Let's begin with the first question. What is a soul and how is it created? How do I know that I have a soul and where is it located?
I will give you an example from day-to-day life, which will make you clear about what is this soul. Imagine about the electricity distribution system in your environment. You have a power station at one end of the line, and you have a substation near your city. The current is produced, electricity is produced in the power station, and it is coming through distribution lines to the substation, and from the substation the line goes again, and you take a line into your house from the main line and get connected. The current goes further and it takes another connection in another house, then it goes to a cinema theater and it goes to a factory. So like this connection is established. The electricity starts from power station, it goes through substation, and then it goes to the distribution line, and it is getting connected to each and every house and establishments. Now suppose if I switch off the current of one house, do you think that the current is taken away from there? Or what exactly is happening there? It is the flow which is getting cut off. The current which is in your house was always a part of the current that is produced in the power station. It is not a separate piece that is taken out from there and installed in the house. It is a total connection, a total entity, and it maintains a flow. You are tapping something from the flow only, and when it is cut off, it is still in the flow, in the main flow only. It is still with the main thing. So it is one single entity. This electricity that is coming into our homes, into the cinema theaters, wherever it is, it's only one single entity. They are not separate entities. So like this, the soul, it is actually created by the source, by the creator, and it is part of the creator even when it is inside us, like the electricity which I mentioned now. So when this is taken out of somebody, it is actually taken out of as a single piece and put somewhere. It is going back to the main flow, to the main thing to which it is always connected. And when it is taken and to another house or another entity, it is the same flow which is getting connected there also. So this is how the soul works. This is how it is doing, because it is one single piece, one single whole, and that is actually the source, and that is maintaining the whole thing, all universes, everything that we see, everything that we experience. It's all connected from that source. But the only difference with the electricity and the source power is, in the electricity it has got only energy. But when it is coming from the source, it is part of the source. There it has got consciousness, it has got energy, it has got intelligence, it has got vibration. It's a total piece which is existing in everything in the universe. So it is a piece of the universe. It is connected with the whole thing, and that is the soul. So actually what happens is, the soul is not created by anybody, it is eternal. It is part of the source itself, part of the creator itself. So what actually happens is, it is not the body or it is not the human system which is creating the soul. The soul is creating the human body. The soul is creating all these things, all the establishments. Everything that you see in various spaces is created by the source, by the absolute, by the original source. And a part of that source is the soul. And because of the powers of the soul is able to create whatever it wants in a limited sense. And they say, again, through analysis, through researches from Vedic period up to this, they say that its location is somewhere in the heart, of a thumb size. That's what they say. We don't know. We have to search and find out ourselves.
Soma Kumar, if I understand you correctly, so the soul is a divine energy which is linked to the body from the source and more directly centered in the heart?
It is actually part of the source itself. It is not separated from the source. But in this place, it is located in the body, wherever it is. If it is in a house like in electricity, it is centered there. But its original center is in the source itself.
Thank you. Now we go to the next question. We do everything with the heart and mind. So what is the purpose and function of the soul?
I'll give again a mundane example, which will be easy for you to understand. I have a washing machine at home. And I tell that, I put my clothes there and it is getting washed. Why do I need a current? Why do I need a power, electricity there? Because without electricity, that machine will not work. It is of no use to me. Like that, heart, mind, your brain, whatever it is, it works only by the energy that is provided by the source. The energy source is the soul. And it is actually providing consciousness, which is the thing which is supplied to the soul by the source itself, by the absolute itself. And until and unless that consciousness goes inside, heart will not work, brain will not work. It is very obvious, because when a person dies, when the soul goes out, the heart is there still. The organ of heart is still there. The brain is still there, but it becomes dead. It doesn't work.
Does the soul evolve and become better in each life? Is there a completion for the soul's journey?
The soul is always pure and it's always connected to the source. But what happens is, when it creates a body and enters that body, especially the human body, because of our actions, because of our thoughts, we create certain coverings around the soul, and that is its impurity. And when it tries to go back, and always the tendency, the urge of the soul is to go back to the original source. Its tendency is always there, always to go back there. But when it tries to do that, these coverings are a load on the soul. It is not able to go. So evolution is actually meaning the effort of the soul to remove these impurities, which are the coverings created by human beings, and escape from this place. So the evolution is there, but evolution is not actually for the soul, it is for the human being. And when these coverings are removed, the soul becomes pure and it reaches its destination.
Means we will always have to be in the higher consciousness to reach our destiny.
Yes. But for us to be in the higher consciousness, you have to do the practice. You must be focused on that for quite a long time. Then only you can raise yourself to higher consciousness. It is not possible by a single simple thought.
Okay, thank you. Now we go to the next question. What happens after that? What will the situation of the soul, and how does it get another birth?
Death occurs because when the soul decides that it actually wanted to remove these coverings, but when it decides that it is not possible to remove these coverings in this birth because of the traits and habits of the person in which I am, into which I am. So the person is not changing, and there is a time slot for every life. It is nearing. So the soul decides, let me go out of it and find out some other place where I can create something else, and again try to purify myself. So that is the thing that happens when death comes. So the soul leaves with again with the fine covering. These coverings are not leaving the soul when the body is dead. It just escapes with all these coverings, which is called samskaras. And when it goes up, it gets the wisdom. I went inside this particular instrument with particular individual to remove all the impurities, but I couldn't remove everything. Maybe I acquired more in that birth, and I'm here now in a tragic situation. So let me take another slot where I can remove this. I have to find it out, and it finds out a particular location, a particular couple probably, and a particular land, a particular country probably, which is conducive to throw away all these remaining coverings. And that soul decides a particular spot and goes there, creates the body with its own sankalpa, with its own willpower in the womb of the mother. And at the appropriate moment, they say it is 6 months or 7 months, it enters. Till that time, the soul is actually controlling the fetus from the space, from the superconscious space, and it goes inside, and the life starts there.
Means the soul reborns to evolve to the highest vibrational output.
Yes, yes.
Right.
It's interesting what you said there just now, where the soul after death, it actually tries to find another covering that would actually serve its purpose to remove all the samskaras that is as accumulated. So does it mean that at that point the soul has its own thought process to actually find the perfect candidate or the space?
Yeah, the soul is actually part of the absolute, part of the source, which has got all wisdom, which has got all information, which has got infinite energy, which has got everything that we see, everything that we can imagine. So since it is a part of that, it has got everything. But when it enters a system and it enters a human body, its wisdom is lost gradually. Because the tendencies, the senses of the human being takes the soul or takes the attention of the person into material things, into the conscious space, which I was mentioning. So since it was getting attracted to the conscious space of worldly things, the soul gradually loses its wisdom. That is why most of the time when you see infants, not only human, even animals, cubs and all, you see a divinity in them, an innocence in them, a lot of love in them. Because these qualities are the qualities of the source. The soul actually retains these qualities for a few months when even in the infant's body. But gradually, our social setup, our attitudes, our aspirations in worldly life changes this attitude in them, and the soul loses its wisdom and its direction is changed. So this is what happens. And what happens is then it tries its level best to correct the individual by conscience. It tells you again and again, its soul's voice, don't do this, don't go in this direction. But our senses and our ego attracts us in the wrong direction, in the opposite direction. So the net result is, at the time of death, the soul is really disappointed. And that when it is disappointed, even when it is in the human body, it tries to even get out of it by committing suicide. I cannot tolerate this. I cannot be in this system anymore. I want to get out and try something else. That is the point when people commit suicide and when they create accidents also sometimes because of this thought, the embedded thought of destruction. So when it goes up after death, the wisdom comes back and it actually laments. I didn't go for this purpose into this body. My plan was something else. I wanted to get purified from my previous birth, but I came back with a lot of loads, more loads now. Then again, I'm searching for the slot. So this goes on. I mean, these are the mysteries and tricks of soul. And for us to understand it, the only way is to go with it. Go with the soul. For us to go with the soul, we have to find out the soul which is inside us first. We are not even able to search or able to locate or able to understand there is a soul inside. That is our problem. So when you start focusing onto it, it starts revealing more to you. Then it knows then you know its intentions. Then you align your intentions with that of the soul. Then you become divine.
Thank you. Very fascinating. Let's move on to the next question. How do you say that this physical world is an illusion? Can you prove it scientifically?
Yes, I think the same method is good. The mundane methods which you understand, that will be easy for us to understand this kind of mysteries. You see, suppose we are on the virtual field now. Instead of this, we are having this group of, I'd say think about 900 people. We are in a hall, and delivering the same speech and asking the same questions and all. So I can see there are many colors. Even in the virtual thing, I see a yellow color, I see a white color, I see something in the background. So many colors I can see. Suppose in that hall, a dog is sitting by my side. The dog can see only 3 colors. So what I see as 7 colors or combinations of 7 colors, that will be seeing as combinations of 3. What I see as green, probably that is seeing as black. Number 1. And suppose if there are insects like cockroach, they got multiple eyes. Small eyes in the place of one eye. So what I see as one image, it will see as 100 images. So what is the world that it is seeing? The cockroach is seeing. What is the world the dog is seeing? Like that, all animals have got. There are animals which can see with its nose. There are insects which can see the ultraviolet rays. You see this honey bee, the cow dung bee, with its eyes on top of its head. That actually locates its direction by detecting the ultraviolet rays which is coming, which we cannot see. So what exactly is what we see, what exactly we experience? If each individual is seeing something in a different way, don't you think that it is an illusion? The reality is all these things are only vibrations created by the source. There are only vibrations, nothing else in the whole universe. It's a universe of vibrations. Because that is the subtlest thing. That is the subtlest thing that is produced by the source. But depending on the instruments that we have to pick up vibrations, we see different things.
Okay. Thank you for the awesome explanation, Kumar.
I can give you one more short explanation, which is more convincing. You see an object by the vibrations that are coming from the objects. It goes inside through. If it is a vision, it goes through eyes as vibrations. And that vibration is actually transferred through nervous system to the brain. And the brain interprets what you are seeing. It is not what is there that you are seeing. The brain's interpretation based on the data the brain has got inside. So the vibration is instigating the brain to search in the data that it has got inside. And that data is given to you as what you are seeing. This is one part of it. So now, for you to see something, the light ray has to come and strike your eye. Now you are actually sitting tonight. You are going onto your terrace and you are watching the sky. Sky watchers are there. It's very happy. This thing, you just look up and you see the stars there. And scientifically, we know that all these stars are so many light years away from us. And 1 light year is the speed at which light travels in 1 year, and the speed of light is 3 lakh kilometers per second. And so many light years away are these stars and planets and things like that. And the nearest star is 4.5 light years away from Earth, which is called Proxima Centauri. So what do you see tonight? Scientifically, a scene that was existing there at least 4.5 years back. Because for you to see the nearest star, the light ray has to travel from that star and reach you, and it reaches you only after 4.5 years. Wow. There are stars which are 1,000 light years away, million light years away from the Earth. So what you see tonight is something which has happened even before your birth. It is
very
not
interesting.
It may not be existing there. So don't you think that it's an illusion?
Yes, very interesting. In the next question, do we carry the qualities of the previous life to the next life? And how to know the experiences of such past lives?
It is very obvious from my previous answer. Because the soul, when it goes out of a body, out of the dead body, it is carrying the impressions of the previous birth, which it wants to remove. So when it takes birth in another body, these impressions, these thoughts and disappointments are there. Part of it is there. And with it only it goes inside. for it to get removed. But what happens is, based on the same impressions, your character traits are different, your emotions are different. You accrue more based on your emotions. Actually, what you should do is you should try to remove those emotions and try to get more divine. So for us to realize source or soul, where it is, you have to focus onto it. For you to focus onto it, you have to do some practice, some techniques you have to use, how to focus your mind onto your consciousness, onto your soul, which is see the paradoxical situation is we are able to focus on everything that is away from us in the outer world. You know, we think about what is happening in America, what is happening in Antarctica, which are miles away from us. We are able to focus onto this information. But we are not able to focus something which is inside, residing inside you in your heart itself, not turning our attention there. That is the greatest foolishness that we are doing as human beings. So we have to focus, we have to take a technique, we have to learn a technique for us to focus into your own soul and understand the mysteries of the soul, and that gives you actually maximum happiness in your life.
So it's our karma, and everything is controlled by the poisonous mind of the ignorance then.
Yes.
Thank you.
Again, it is not a fault of the mind. Mind can go this way and that way. It is the mind which is actually the vehicle which can take you into the bad things and also into the good things also. Towards divinity also, the access is given by mind. Towards your subconscious level also, the mind is the vehicle which carries you in both the worlds, in all the worlds. The purpose is actually to train the mind. You have got a vehicle, you have got a car. It is you are going to decide where you want to go. It is not a car which decides where you want to go.
Okay, let's move on with our next question as we are running out of time as well. As regards to birth and death of creatures and animals, is their life also decided by the soul or by God?
See, it's a very fascinating question, because on one side it is decided by God, on the other side it is decided by the soul, on the third side it is decided by the being itself. Because from the God side or from the soul side, it decides only about your divine destination. You are supposed to come back there only. It's only a play that it is doing. And in that play, you should not get merged in the play and think that in life itself is a play. It should not go like that. So what happens is, when the human being or when the insect or whatever it is, if it has got thought power, when the human beings think that this is what I want to become, the source is there inside you, the soul is there inside you, which gives you energy in whichever direction you want to go. So it is, the choice is with us. You have to select where you want to go. If you select the wrong choice, you will be going in the wrong direction, away from divinity, into the nether worlds of animals or insects or whatever it is, even inanimate things like minerals. You can end up there also with your vibration. See, all these various stages, various births are decided by the vibratory level that you have. Even after death, the soul has to stay somewhere, for its next choice. It stays in a plane where there is a vibratory match between what you are having and what is existing in that plane. So all these universes are actually different vibratory levels. There are infinite universes, they say, because there are more than infinite vibratory levels which has come from the source. So we are all at different decks of vibrations. So when you do something in this birth, this choice is given to you. If you prefer for a lower vibratory level, you will end up there. That is how the next birth comes. When you aspire for a higher vibratory level, you reach there. That's how it works. It's a natural law. You end up in your vibratory level wherever you are, even in this life. As a child, you will aspire for something. When the aspiration goes wrong into the wrong fields, you end up there. Even in this world itself, there are vibratory levels. So you end up in vibratory levels based on your inner condition. That is why it is very important for us to focus on to the soul and do the practice and try to get out of this miserable vibratory level which you are undergoing now as life. Try to reach the higher levels of divinity. That should be our real purpose.
So it's the practice. Okay, now this will be the last question as we are running out of time already. The last question will be, what is time? How does it appear to be different for different people? Some people enjoy it and manage it. Some have to run after it. Why and how is it so?
Time again is an illusion created by mind. Because in infinity, in the reality, there is infinite time, there is eternity. See, how do we think that time is existing in us or time is binding on us? It is based on our thoughts, it's based on our action. One definition of time is the gap between your thought and action. That is time in the outer world. In the inner world, time is actually the gap between two thoughts. That is what I said in the story. If you find out the gap between two thoughts, you will see the reality there. In that gap, when there are no thoughts, there is only infinity. There is only eternity. In eternity, there is no time. Where is time in eternity? It is there always, isn't it? So the concept of the concept of time is created by our attitudes and our choices. If you have it is very obvious for us. If you are reading fiction, you are sitting in the living hall, you are alone in the house, and you are leading your husband or wife. After some time, what happens is you are going on reading involved totally into the fiction. After some time, you hear a bang on the door, heavy sound. You open it, and your husband or wife comes. I have been ringing the bell for hours, and what are you doing here? He's asking or she's asking. Then you realize that I was engrossed in this. The ears were open, sound was there, but I didn't hear it. So time has lost there. When your thought is fixed on one particular thing, there is no time for you.
So like how we got engrossed with your talk, and the time is up.
So this is what happens. So when you can get away from these thought conditions, from the actions of the outer world, without getting too much involved in it, you are in infinity. Time is there for everything that you do. People who have this trait of focusing onto something in their life, it may be love, it may be their passion for their job, whatever it is. If you go into that with one single thought, for that people, time is always available. But for people who jump from this thing to that thing and so many thoughts, crowded thoughts and all, they have to chase the time. The other case, time will chase you. It will be always with you. So that's the difference. So it was the last question. Now, as I promised, we will go to the hands-on practice now to get into these conditions which I have been explaining. And the thing is, again, the attempt is to get away from thoughts, unwanted thoughts, and to reach this level of infinity, this level of reality, which is actually there in the soul itself. If you touch your soul really with your heart, with your emotions, with your feelings, you are touching infinity. You are touching reality. So how to do it? Now it is actually concealed in the depth of your heart somewhere. We don't know where it is. See, sometimes we have the feeling of love, but you are not able to find out from where it is coming. But if you watch, you will know it is coming from the heart. Nobody is loving with their brain. Nobody is loving with their nose. Everything by way of love comes from your heart only. You feel it if you really are focused on to that. So the practice is actually, the other very fascinating thing is you are taken into this field of infinity every day, irrespective of who you are. Every individual is actually being taken to this field of infinity every day. But we lose our awareness because our focus is not there. When after the hectic activity of the day, when you come back home, have your wash and have your dinner, whatever it is, and when you go to sleep, what happens is your body gets relaxed first, then you go into the dreamy stage, which means when the body gets relaxed, your consciousness is taken out of the conscious world, which I was explaining, the worldly matter, it slowly withdraws. Then you get into the subconscious state where you start seeing dreams. When you see dreams, you are in the world of subconscious, you are in the space of subconscious. And after that, you slip into something, in some area where everything is a blackout. That is reality. That is infinity. That is eternity. There is no time there. There is no space there. But it is a blank, this thing that you are seeing because you are not focusing there. You don't even think about it. You don't even think that is the place where I'm supposed to go. Okay. So the only difference between the technique that I'm going to tell you, which is meditation, It's nothing else but in deep sleep states, your consciousness, your awareness is not there. But by this practice of meditation, what we are trying to do is to awaken your consciousness, to awaken your awareness in the condition of deep sleep state. This is what we are doing. So when we try to do this practice, we will be passing, first of all, we'll be coming out of the conscious world by relaxation. There is a technique called relaxation. And after that, you enter into the thought world or the dream world, which is a subconscious space. Then when you go into the deep sleep state, you are not allowed to be blank there. We will, by this process, we will keep the awakening, keep the consciousness intact there. And the technique is actually done by a very superb skill, which is called transmission. The person who is actually giving you the training, giving you this practice, is the worldwide guide of this particular practice. And his ability is actually, he's always in touch with the reality, with that infinity, with that eternity. And he is able to give the vibrations of that field, or that plane, into you. It is like, TV transmission or a mobile transmission. And the transmission is coming from somewhere, like the power station, it's coming from somewhere. And whoever is tuned to that, whichever instrument is tuned to it, you get the message. So our part is only to get tuned to it. The other part is always played. The transmission is the TV transmission is everywhere. But you don't get it unless you have a tuner set and tuned to that vibration. So this is exactly what we are supposed to do. Tune to whatever is happening now, and you get it. So now the practical part of it is, I will be giving some relaxation commands to you. Just obey that. You'll be asked to close your eyes and slowly relax every part of your body. So instruction is, after that, I'll be telling you to continue meditation. In meditation, what you are supposed to do is just avoid thoughts. When thoughts come, don't try to stop it, don't try to push it away. It will not happen like that. You just avoid it, ignore it. You don't give your focus onto that. It will be happening somewhere, you are not there. Instead of that, you focus your thoughts into your heart where the soul is there. But you don't know how it is, what it is. So just keep your mind open, keep your heart open, focus to that spot. With the thing that it is, just imagine that it is a divine light. This instruction is of divine light is given because if I tell you just focus on the abstract, you will not catch it. You will not know what to do. So just for that purpose, I'm telling you it is a divine light, but it is not real light. You don't imagine any light or anything inside. It's only a supposition. Something is there. It may be a light. Something is there. Let me focus onto it and find out what it is. And you be there. What really happens is, initially it starts as a thought. But slowly when the focus is intense, what happens is the thought becomes feeling, because you start feeling that place, because that will come to you. When you give enough attention, the divinity will be coming to you. You don't have to go there. It needs only your attention, your focus. The moment you are turned there, initially it will be thought because part of you will be still in the outside world. And when the focus is getting intense, you start feeling it, whatever is inside. Then slowly that feeling draws you inside again, and you become that. You become one with that. That is calling you are a being then. You are a being of this particular vibration. Then you become that. After that, even that becoming goes because you go and you become one with the vibration. That is the end of the soul's journey. So shall we start now?
Thank
The
you.
relaxation.
Thank you.
Again, if thought comes, ignore it. Okay. Now listen to these relaxation commands and slowly do it. And at the end of it, I'll tell you, just continue meditation and do meditation like this. Focus on your heart, ignore the thoughts and feel what is happening. When I say that's all, you can open your eyes. Okay. Sit comfortably and close your eyes softly and very gently. Let us begin with the toes. Wiggle your toes. Now feel them relax. Feel the healing energy of Mother Earth move up into your feet and ankles, then up to your knees, relaxing your lower legs. Now feel the healing energy move up your legs, relaxing them. Relax your thighs. Now deeply relax your hips, stomach, and waist. Relax your back. From the top to the bottom, the entire back is relaxed. Relax your chest and shoulders. Feel your shoulders simply melting away. Relax your upper arms. Relax each muscle in your forearms, your hands, right up to your fingertips. Relax your neck muscles. Move your awareness up to your face. Relax your jaw, mouth, nose, eyes, earlobes, facial muscles, forehead, all the way to the top of your head. Feel that your whole body is completely relaxed. Scan your system from top to toe, and if there is any part of your body that is still tense, painful, or unwell, spend some more time immersing it in the healing energy of Mother Earth. When you are ready, move your attention to your heart. Rest there for a little while. Feel immersed in the love and light in your heart. Remain still and quiet and slowly become absorbed in yourself. Now continue meditation. That is the end of hands-on session. In the next session, we'll be analyzing, as I told you, from the expert's opinion, expert's view, experts like psychiatrist, psychologist, neurologist. People do try to search these things with hypnotism, with regression techniques. These things will be, let us see what is their view on the same topic. The soul will reveal another aspect of its trickeries in that session.
Okay, that was something really nice. With this, we come to the conclusion of today's episode. Thank you very much, Somakumar. It has been a real privilege to have you share your valuable insights and to enlighten us on the subject of the soul. It has really been an eye-opener to all of us who have joined in today. Thank you for the experiential session of heartfulness. For all those interested to know more on heartfulness, please do visit our social media page, links displayed below.
Don't forget to join us on our next episode on Saturday, 30th May, for another interesting session where Somakumar will speak on the subject of soulmate and soul search. Thank you everyone for joining us. See you all next week. Stay safe and good night.